That's weird. All right, now we're live. Yeah, let me play some music.
Don't play the music. You already butchered the whole intro.
Hold on, we got to do the music.
Word Up magazine, salt and pepper and heavy D up in the limousine. Hanging pictures on my wall.
Welcome everybody, Fantasy Empire. Chrissy B, Nando D. We're going to take you into week 11 the classy way.
Chrissy
Chris, how was
D
your
and
week?
Nando D.
How was your week? How was your week?
It was good, Nando. Now that you thought we were live and we weren't, and it's week 11 and you still can't figure out how to work the site and get us live. But
I hit the go live button. I don't know why it didn't go live. And then
struggling early.
The red thing's not there.
Struggling early, my friend. But here we are. Week 11. Huge week 11. Only 4 weeks left of the fantasy regular season. Time to go 4-0. Get yourself in the playoff. Win a regular season title. And, yep. That's right. That's me telling you.
Why would you just say that? Why would you have to text me that? You could say that on air.
I did. Brutal. Right. Thinking that we were live and we weren't. But
you get into it a lot. You could have been like, it's not red. You could have said, hey, it's not red.
I could have, but I didn't. I wanted to watch you fail.
I do the same thing every week.
You're so good at it. I know. And every week you think you're so great at it and something goes wrong.
All right, you know what? Next week, Chris Vaccaro is going to do all the back end stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll see what that looks like.
Nobody cares about that, Nando. They just care about the fantasy football aspect.
You just wasted 3 minutes talking about it, but instead of football.
Listen, nice high-scoring Week 10, Nando. A lot of good games, big-time fantasy performances, a lot of blow-up games, which led to what I saw across all my leagues were a bunch of 170, 180-point type of weeks. So that was nice to see, especially coming off of the week before that, Week 9, and a bunch of low-scoring weeks that we've had to sit through this year, but not this past week. And hopefully that leads on to what we can hopefully get week in and week out going forward here. We only have 4 pretty crappy teams on a bye, so that really won't affect us too much fantasy-wise going into this week. And we'll see. We'll see. It should be fun. Some good games in week 11.
What's this week? I mean, you are Johnny Thanksgiving, as far as I'm concerned. Is this week kind of like?
I do love Thanksgiving now.
Yeah, like this. I mean, like next week is obviously Thanksgiving. Like the game is this week kind of like? Do you feel like the tingles already starting? Like it's almost like holiday season for you. You feel good. You had a good week 10. You feel good about 11 now. Like this is like, it's like you could feel it in the air a little bit for Chris Vaccaro, right?
Yeah, usually Thanksgiving week when you're sitting down watching Thanksgiving football, there's a lot more on the line in your leagues and coming down the stretch. It's usually 2 or 3 weeks left in the fantasy season. So yeah, you definitely feel it. It's mid-November and we're well on our way to trying to get these teams into the playoffs. So yeah, it's crunch time every week. Early in the season, yeah, it's nice to get off to a good start, Nando, and have some good weeks and everything. But you don't feel like the pressure in like week 3 or whatever. Now, week 10, week 11, and on here, every week is a huge week. If you drop a dud, one of those 90-point weeks, 100, it'll sink your whole season. You'll look back on and go, oh, week 11 was the week that my team died and got eliminated from the playoffs and ran out of contention. And, so these are the weeks you really remember. These are the weeks when you want to drop one of those 180s to 200-point weeks and shoot up the standings and get yourself into the playoffs.
You play in the high stakes leagues. You've made a very, I guess, loud point about that every single show. When does it start? Like this is a big deal for you because the points and the average points and the weekly scoring is a big deal for you in the playoffs. Whereas like a normal person, if they dropped the 90-point game next week, would be like, it's good. I got it out of my system. I had a couple buys. It feels good, but you need like that 150 week because that plays into the standings and how much like your base when you go into the playoffs is based on your average weekly scoring, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, at the high stakes level, it's more important to drop a good number. The points are more important than a win or a loss at this year, because top 3 or top 4, depending on if it's an NFFC or FFPC leagues, only the top 3 or 4 get in points. So I have a team, Nando, no joke. I have a team that's 4th in points in one of my big leagues, and I am 1-9.
That's
1-9. And I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't even look who I'm playing against. It doesn't matter to me if I win or lose. I just need to finish in the top 4 to get into that individual playoff point-wise. So that's really what you mean.
Or peaks and valleys,
it's
the peaks and valleys.
No, there's been a lot of weeks where I've dropped, a good 160, 165, and I just happen to be playing the team that dropped a 185, a 180. So points is more important. And obviously, if we're talking to, our listeners that are in home leagues, you drop one of those terrible 80-point weeks. It's just a loss. If you're 6-3 and now you're 6-4, it doesn't matter if you lost by 80 points or 1 point.
Right.
But, in a lot of the high stakes leagues, points is important. And you want to make sure you try and staying above 150 points every week. That's the goal every week in my eyes. And the last couple of weeks, as you've seen across leagues, it's 80 points, 90 points, just because of so many injuries, so many bad quarterback performances, a lot of duds a lot of dud performances by a lot of players in people's starting lineups. So, there's nothing you can do about it. You just want to have those consistent players, and there's not too many of them out there. And as we hit week 11, I think now we know who we could rely on, who we could trust, who we can't trust, and that's who we want to roll with. There's no more. I learned this more than ever this year, Nando, to end this point, is there's no more playing matchups. No, I'm just saying that, in years past, I've always tried to let me take that wide receiver 5 off my bench and bring him into my starting lineup this year because he's got a better matchup than my wide receiver 2,
Right.
And I've gotten burned by that again early this year. Just play your best, your best lineup every week. Don't say, oh, let me look at my bench and this guy's got a better matchup and I'm putting him in. It works out less times than it works out. So that's that's what I would say.
All right.
By the way, I see in the chat, shout out to our boy Joey Brown. I think he's top 10 overall in the prime time. He's having a huge year, so shout out to him. There he is. And he's got a primetime question this week. Justin Herbert or CJ Stroud in the Joey, I'll say this for this game, because I'm Nando, I actually have a Justin Herbert or Jared Goff decision that I think is
Justin
a very
Herbert's
close
garbage
decision. Yeah, he's garbage with his 40-point performance last week while you were out on the town not watching football. Joe, if that game in Green Bay is bad weather, and that's what I'll be keeping my eye on, because you're taking a West Coast team over to Green Bay for a 1:00 game, and if that's one of those 22-degree type Green Bay Sunday afternoons, and you're taking that warm weather indoor West Coast team there, you got a hot CJ Stroud. I might lean Stroud there, as crazy as it seems.
You wanted to lead with quarterbacks. Let's answer this quarterback question and then jump into some of the Deshaun Watson stuff and everything you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Kyler or Dobbs. Can you imagine?
Oh, that's a good one. Hey, Ryan, that's a good one. Because Dobbs might be getting Justin Jefferson. That's one of the news topics I wanted to bring up. Justin Jefferson's been running sprints the last week in practice and feeling no pain. They might activate him and let him loose this week. And Justin Jefferson, after seeing what this team and offense is doing the last couple of weeks with Dobbs, he's got to feel, rejuvenated to be like, hey, I thought the season was done when my quarterback went down weeks ago. We have the savior here in Dobbs. So, God, but I loved what I saw out of Kyler, and I love his matchup in Houston. That game is a sneaky shootout. Whoever would have thought, Nando, Arizona versus Houston is a game that I'm going to be keened in on. That's going to be a fun game between Kyler and Stroud with a lot of good offensive weapons on both sides of the ball there. So I'll lean Dobbs to answer your question, Ryan, but it's close.
When I sent you the rundown, I had a Houston question in there and you made fun of it. So
I didn't look.
Yeah, how could you say it was bad?
Nah, I know. It was
pretty good. I thought it was a pretty good question. It really, because what that would have done when you answered it, then would have been like, let's talk about Houston for a second, how they're suddenly this interesting team.
Yeah.
But you don't understand where, how to get that.
What was your question then? Why don't you ask it then if it was so good? Let's let the listeners decide.
Why don't you talk about the quarterback news and I'll pull it up. I threw it away because you said it sucked.
The quarterback news as we hit, going live here today, a couple hours before, Deshaun Watson out for the season, fractured shoulder, huge hit to that Browns offense that was starting to get rolling. Big win, 33-31 in Baltimore. What was weird is he came out of the game with a boot on his foot because he hurt his ankle in that game, and yet now we find out he's got a fractured shoulder and he's out for the year. So it's back to Nando's favorite football player, PJ Walker, for the rest of the season, most likely. And just as I was getting excited for my Elijah Moore shares, and I'm sure Amari Cooper owners were getting excited for him rest of the season with Deshaun Watson, it's back to the PJ Walker days. So good luck with that. And Justin Fields looks like fantasy managers might be getting their top 10 fantasy quarterback back this week after the thumb injury. And good time to do it. He's coming back in the Dome versus Detroit in a game that I think could be one of those high-scoring games. Absolutely love this Lions offense, this Lions team. They're probably my favorite team to watch every Sunday. And that's Justin Fields. So he's coming back.
You've been fact-checked by Joey Brown.
What's that?
PJ Walker's not starting.
Oh, my God. Dorian Thompson? Wow.
He was a bit of a disaster, but that's the guy's first start. He's a rookie. You know what I mean? Like, you got to cut him some slack.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty, Browns
we were excited
to start Dorian Thompson.
And that's actually been double fact checked.
That is crazy.
How can you show up on a show like this at this level?
It just broke. It literally just popped up on it literally just popped up on our phone. Sorry that I expected the quarterback that was quarterbacking the whole time Watson was out to take over. But
shout out to Joey Brown.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
even worse.
Yeah.
Nando, I got to tell you, I'd be pissed if I was an Amari Cooper owner. I'd be bailing.
I don't know. I mean, look,
wide receiver 2 to I know. Here comes Nando to play the other side. Go ahead.
All I'm saying is, I'm sure there's a reason. Like PJ Walker he wasn't Jacoby Brissett, right? But I mean, he was good enough. Kept him in the games. He was serviceable. If now you're at the point where you're the Browns and you're in it, like your defense is going to be mad at the entire offense for blowing games, and you're going to throw Dorian Thompson back in there. I mean, they see him in practice every day. There's got to be something they believe in. You know what I mean? Like this. I don't think it's going to be like Amari Cooper like throwing his helmet on the sideline, you know?
Yeah, well, okay. If you think you're getting Amari Cooper 9 for 120 and 2 touchdown type games in the future, then good luck predicting that.
Well, maybe they'll force
it.
Maybe they'll force
No, what this is going to be is a even more run heavy team between Ford and Hunt. I mean, that's the only 2 people I would feel good about going forward. But that's it. That's the Browns. That's the Browns situation. That's the Browns story.
Njoku season.
Nice. Maybe.
Could be right. Unless he's going to block for all these running backs now. No?
Good luck figuring it out.
All right. Do you want to talk about anything else until we can get into the stuff that I figured we could talk about? It was well thought out.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to hear your beautiful rundown. Week 2 of Nando doing the rundown. I hope you all are happy.
Would you rather get tickets on the 50-yard line to a figurative Texans-Dolphins game and you get free steak for the duration of the game? Or would you rather spend one night?
This is what you wanted to lead with?
No, you told me to do it. I didn't want. This is like the 5th thing on here. What I really want to know is Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell, right? Like it seems like they can coexist to a degree. Yeah. They're going to take chunks of yardage. Is that going to negative? Like if you're a Lamar Jackson owner, GM, are you sitting there like Gus Edwards is going to get his? Like right? Like Gus Edwards. Every year we fail to learn this lesson that the Ravens love Gus Edwards, and if there's even the slightest opening, they're going to let Gus Edwards kick down that door and get volume, right?
Yeah.
And now we got Keaton Mitchell, who can get like 4 touches at 112 yards.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, it's going to be tough, though.
Does that? I mean, like when we talk a lot about like say Deontay Foreman, if Justin Fields is back, Fields is going to take some of those rushing yards away, right? Mm-hmm. Is this going to be the opposite in Baltimore, where these 2 running backs are going to take away the rushing yards from Lamar Jackson?
No, I don't.
They don't need him to run.
Yeah, I'm sure they want to protect it. I think the days of watching Lamar run, 12 to 15 times in a game are over, just because of the added what Keaton Mitchell brings to this offense now. They could give him those extra, 3 to 5 carries. But in terms of just the backfield, Nando, Gus Edwards played 52% of the snaps this past week. The week before, it was a lot less. Keaton Mitchell only played 24% of the snaps this week. And Harbaugh, after the game, said he really didn't have a reason why Keaton Mitchell didn't play more and that he should have. And that in the future, going forward, he will, be more in the mix. That's what we want to hear as Keaton Mitchell owners, right? At least coach speak, he's given him a vote of confidence there. I think the odd man out going forward is Justice Hill. He played 25%, but he played 25% of the snaps again. He actually got a touchdown called back, or else his day would have been, a little more useful. Just based on talent alone, I think it becomes a 2-man backfield starting tomorrow, in this great game on a Thursday night, Cincinnati and Baltimore, finally, after we've gotten so many stinkers on Thursday nights lately. But this is a good opportunity for Mitchell and Gus Edwards to maybe be in like one of those 60-40 time splits. I see Justice Hill fading to oblivion in this backfield. That's what we want to see. Gus Edwards should probably wind up being the guy that plays in the red zone more. Keaton Mitchell inside the 20s. And hopefully that's what it turns out to be, because I, as a Keaton Mitchell owner, I did start him in the spots that I had him last week and got lucky on the long touchdown run. The thing, if you didn't watch Keaton Mitchell last week, Keaton Mitchell dropped a long touchdown pass as well.
Yeah.
And that would have been huge. That would have probably put him over the 20-point mark, fantasy-wise. And his game and his day would have looked a lot bigger. So he needs to come down with those. If he comes down with those, who knows? Maybe he's off and running with the total backfield catch-wise. But I don't think Gus Edwards hasn't done anything these last, month and a half with the job.
He only averages 6 yards a carry. I mean, he sucks.
Yeah,
right?
and he scores every single week. And the only person that is really, taking the big hit is us Lamar Jackson owners, because every time they get within the 5, those, direct runs for Lamar Jackson that used to get us in the end zone in years past are going to Gus Edwards. And it's frustrating because Lamar Jackson has bombed out 3 weeks in a row with less than 20 fantasy points. So hopefully that turns around as well. I think this is the perfect game for Lamar Jackson tomorrow night to put up some pretty good numbers versus this Cincinnati defense that just played a shootout with the Texans. So
I don't know.
That's the way I see it, Nando. I think you got to look at Gus Edwards as a low end RB2 and a Keaton Mitchell as a high end flex.
All right. Okay.
With the caveat that in future weeks, we're hopefully looking at Keaton Mitchell as a top 15 back.
But I mean, Keaton Mitchell, the downside with him is 4 for 19 and no touchdown.
That's
right?
why. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if I didn't just say what I meant to say.
No, you said a high end flex. I'm just saying, like,
no, you're right, Nando. But what I wanted to say is, right now it's tough to even as excited as we are as a fantasy community about Keaton Mitchell, and we spoke about him obviously at length last week, and the whole fantasy community.
And I brought him up like week 2, and you ignored it.
Yeah, and then he didn't play for the next 3 weeks. So
you would have had him on your bench, though.
You're right, but you can't really play him right now unless you're hoping to get the big explosion runs like last week out of his limited carries. So you could wind up with a 3 in your lineup. That's the risk that you take playing Keaton Mitchell.
I want to talk to you about Minnesota for a minute. Ty Chandler was the number 1 added player in CBS leagues last night by a lot. It was the top 2.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to talk about the second one, but it was Ty Chandler and then the Washington defense. But Ty Chandler, I think, is interesting because
that was the second most added player, or was Washington's defense.
That's what I was trying. That's why I was like, you were like, everyone listening doesn't understand like the anger that comes out of these text messages when you bring up what I think is a pretty smart topic.
Yeah.
But Chris doesn't want to talk about the Commanders DST.
Okay.
Let's talk about Ja'Marr Chase.
No.
Anyway,
I want to talk about whoever you want to talk about now.
Well, I was talking about Dwayne McBride.
Ty Chandler is definitely going to be the lead back. Well, let me back up here. He's definitely going to be the most added player, is what I'm trying to say this week in Fab. People see him as he got 15 carries last week. He's in an explosive offense, an offense that everybody wants to get a piece of. It's just like the Texans offense or one of these red hot offenses, a Lions offense. And here's my thing with Ty Chandler, Nando. It's one of these, flavor of the week type ads. And I'm not saying he's a bad ad, Nando. I'm just saying there's holes where this could blow up, just like the DeMarcado ad, just like the Zach Evans ad. This could blow up just because Madison could show up on the practice field on Friday, clear concussion, and everybody that was in need of a running back this week that said, all right, he's the big ad of the week. I need a running back. Let me drop this money that I have still. There's only 3 or 4 weeks left. Let me go get Ty Chandler. And then it blows up on them when he's, back to, just a committee maybe. He did earn himself. He's not going to take over for Alexander Madison.
That's what I think.
Madison is fully. Do you think Madison's going to be relegated when he's fully healthy to being the backup to Ty Chandler all of a sudden?
I mean, they went and traded for Cam Akers and started Cam Akers over him. And Ty Chandler's playing better than Alexander Madison in this offense. To me, Madison's fallen into like the Tony Pollard.
On what?
Maybe
on what? 2 quarters of work?
Exactly. Yeah. 2 quarters of work.
And I mean, they're not going to go and they're not going to go and all of a sudden just say, okay, he's, what do you call it? He's now our starter, and let's just forget about the first 10 weeks of Alexander Madison.
Yeah, Madison not being great. Madison can catch passes better.
The coaching staff, yes, true. The coaching staff gave Madison a full bill of confidence, for 10 weeks now. And when they made the Cam Akers
for Cam Akers and then starting Cam Akers or giving Cam Akers more volume.
Why do you say that? When did they start Cam Akers, Nando?
Cam Akers had better numbers.
They brought Cam Akers over, and what's the first thing they said? And then continue to say week after week while Cam Akers was on the team. Alexander Madison is our lead back. He's our starter. Cam Akers will work in. They brought him in to be the backup.
Did Cam Akers work in, or did Cam Akers have better numbers?
Yeah, he was cutting in, and he had some and he had better numbers.
We care who gets the first carry of the game. That's the starter.
Listen, Madison was well on his way to being the starter again, but
Cam Akers had 22 carries for 29 yards, but he still had 22 carries the last week. Went down.
Number wise, Cam Akers was killing it. Listen,
and a touchdown.
They're all shitty running backs. Okay.
Family show.
They were all shitty running backs. But listen, people are going to go in tonight and go get Ty Chandler, just like they did last night in Yahoo leagues.
Senior football knows what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah, I'm not saying for an excuse. I'm not saying that Cam Akers wasn't cutting more into Madison's role. He was. I'm just saying Madison was still the starter.
You get the first carry of the game and you're the starter. Right?
Okay.
Alexander Madison.
This is one of your topics where you're going to beat to death, right?
No, I mean, senior football.
I see somebody in the chat talking about Rico Dowdle, and that's the guy I love. Yeah, I always call him Dowdle. I went to school with a kid, Dowdle, I guess, so maybe that's why I say it, Dowdle. I love what I see out of him. I love what I see out of him, and I'd have him right there at the top of my priority list, if not on. I have Rico on a couple of my benches. I'm excited. I got a feeling, Nando, that this backfield becomes another one of these 50-50 type splits after what Rico did this past week, again, outplaying Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard just isn't happening, man. And I know I said last week that, and the focus of the show is throwing in the towel on certain players. Last week, in my opinion, was Tony Pollard's last hurrah. If you can't get it done and blow up, this versus the Giants as 17-point favorites at home, if you can't give me one of those 18 carries for 120 and a touchdown type games, I don't know. The sad part is they come in this week, they're 11-point favorites on the road versus Carolina, and this is another week where people are like, all right, I'll give Pollard one more chance. Because if you're a Tony Pollard owner and you've gotten burned almost for 10 weeks now, how do you drop him to the bench now? How do you not play him versus Carolina?
Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of like the Bijan Robinson thing, right? Like you're benching, and all of a sudden last week, Arthur Smith's like, hey, let's see what happens. If we give this guy 20 touches.
Toughest part. Yeah, it's the toughest part of playing fantasy, Nando, is you drafted these guys high. When do you throw in the towel and sit them down on the bench if you don't have like better options? And that's tough to do because you really have to have a great draft to have better options on your team that blew up than your first, second, or third round draft pick, especially at running back, Nando. Like if you're a Tony Pollard owner, you're kind of in a position week in and week out where you just got to put him in your lineup and hope that it's the breakout week, or at least that he gives you something that doesn't sink you. But 5 fantasy points again in a dream matchup versus the Giants sinks you, So here we are again going into week 11 versus Carolina. And I have Tony Pollard. I am going to play him again, but it's tough. It's tough. If I had better options on some of those teams, I might have to think about it. But Rico is playable this week, no doubt about it, whether as a low-end RB2 or a flex play. I know I have one league where I have Bijan Robinson and Ramondre Stevenson as my top 2 backs, and they're both on a bye. As well as, Jonathan Taylor is on a bye this week, and Alvin Kamara is on a bye this week. So this is kind of the bye week where, even though they're crappy teams that are on a bye week, it's 4 teams that have top 15 running backs, all of them. And so you're taking 4 big-time running backs out of our fantasy world this week. You have to find a Rico, Dowdle, to play, or Gus Edwards, or a Keaton Mitchell.
I can't wait to see how you spell his name in your column tonight.
I'm going to spell it 7 different ways and make sure I keep doing that over.
Oh, we never did a commercial. Hold on. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this sound effect, and then a commercial, and then another sound effect.
This episode is brought to you by Rival Fantasy. Rival Fantasy, the coolest fantasy platform not enough people know about, but they will once I'm done, baby, because they're always innovating. They just rolled out seasonal leagues. We set them up for patrons, for our listeners, and they funded over $1,000 in payouts. That's what Rival's all about. They're always innovating. They already had the fantasy book where you can take overs and unders, stack them up, multiply your payout, but then they added challenges so you can set your own lines and put them out there for the community, and then you can browse the community's lines and say, hey, this guy's crazy, I'm going to take the other side. It's cool. And they have fantasy bingo. Rival Fantasy is reminding me how much fun I can have with fantasy football, and use that promo code PLAYER. The promo code is PLAYER. They give you a $100 instant deposit match plus $25 plus a free play. That promo code is PLAYER for up to $125 in deposit bonus and a free play. You can't beat it.
There's a lot going on here. A lot of buttons I got to hit.
Yeah. Good for you. No. You'll figure it out, buddy.
No, I mean, it's just, I got to just place them a little better. So I go blip, 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 blip.
Nice.
I got a live question from a coworker, but he's still typing it. So we'll get to that in a second, Christoph.
Sounds good.
Does that sound good to you? All right. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, buddy. Whatever you want to talk about. What's your next topic there?
You said you were going to write the rundown.
I got burned this.
Threw it away.
I got burned by that TJ Hockenson news early Sunday morning that he was going to play limited snaps with that injury.
How about that? Dude, how many times have you gotten burned by limited snaps? Like,
so burned. Oh, Nando, I just.
What was it? What was the Cowboys?
Nando, I don't have two. No, I don't remember.
No, I was like 1 week. Schefter's like
makeup in your head.
No, it was like week 14, week 13. It was either like first week of the playoffs or right before the playoffs. And I think there were 2 Cowboys receivers who were both hurt at the same time. And Schefter had tweeted like, "Oh, expect them to be severely limited." And then they went off and had like 120 yards each. How do you not remember that? You remember everything.
Yeah, I don't. You're talking about what, last year, obviously?
No, this is like 7 years ago. This is like a long time.
Oh
ago.
yeah.
Like,
how do you not remember 7 years ago when?
Because it was famous.
You're ridiculous.
It was like
anyway.
It was like I screwed all of you with this.
I remember when Adam Schefter did that. I remember when that happened with Jimmy Graham. If that's somehow, it was like 20 minutes before 1 o'clock, and Jimmy Graham, I remember there was the report that, he got hurt in warmups. He might not play, or limited snaps or something like that. And I remember pulling him from my lineup. And Jimmy Graham at the time was like, one of the best players. And he still scored and had like a 20-something point fantasy day. And I'll never forget that. So that was one of them. But Nando, these beat reporters,
until I figure out this answer.
These beat reporters, I mean, it just keeps blowing up in their faces and fantasy players, because I was getting bombarded with text on Sunday morning as soon as that Hockenson report came through with the limited snaps today. When you hear limited snaps, the first thing in your head goes, all right, he's going to sit on the sideline most of the day, and in the red zone, he's going to come in for a couple plays, and that's that. So you start panicking, and unfortunately for me, I had on my 2 TJ Hockenson teams, I had Dalton Kincaid and Dalton Schultz as my backups on each. And I pulled TJ Hockenson just because I was like, you know what? I have good options. I have 2 other tight ends that, Kincaid's a top 5 tight end. Schultz now is like a top 8. I said, I have good, healthy tight ends that I can play. And I go and miss TJ Hawkinson's huge blow up 33-point fantasy performance. So, that really kicked me in the where on this past week. And of course, it always works out that way now. Though it's not like he just comes out. It always works out that way, where it's not like, Hockenson comes out and he has like a 4 catch for 40 yards and you're like, all right, whatever. It's the game that you completely blow up. So, that was definitely one of them. The other thing, the Christian McCaffrey was a complete joke, absolute joke. Them trying to get him that touchdown down the stretch. It was ridiculous. They could have wound up hurting him. The game's a complete blowout. All the starters are on the sideline, and the coach is trying to feed Christian McCaffrey a touchdown to keep his streak alive. I'm sure fantasy owners appreciated it, but if he gets hurt in that situation, they wouldn't have been loving it. That's for sure.
Here's a question from Joanna that I wanted to bring up that you laughed at me about. Last week we talked about your guy Michael Carter when you laughed off Dalvin Cook.
Yep.
Who should I drop for Israel? Go ahead then.
No, go ahead.
You're not even looking at the screen. What are you doing? Are you texting me something else now?
Oh my God. Go ahead. Mind your business. I got things going on.
So the Jets.
Who should I drop for Izzy Abanikanda?
Yeah.
Should I drop Justice Hill, DeMarcado, Pierre Strong, or Jordan Mason? Joanna,
say
good
none
question.
of the above if you don't like this.
You can literally say choice D, all of the above. I would drop out of those 4. I would drop DeMarcado. I think he's done. I think that was over and done with. But I would drop all of these guys. Jordan Mason, I'd hold on to just because if Christian McCaffrey goes down the stretch, I think him and Elijah Mitchell form like a nice little committee. So you don't want to lose that. But everybody else is droppable there. The thing you actually sent me a text last night laughing at me because in this show last week, I recommended picking up and stashing Michael Carter. So you were like, oh, nice recommendation with Michael Carter.
I would never privately mock you for a bad call you made.
You did. And the funny thing is, the joke's on you because Michael Carter getting released yesterday was actually the best news you could get for if you stashed Michael Carter as your RB7 on the back end of the bench. Michael Carter is going to get signed and picked up in the next 24 hours by a team and probably be on the field or close to being on the or will be in someone's backfield by next week and probably in a better situation, hopefully, in one of these teams that needs a nice backup running back. Okay. Maybe your Minnesota Vikings, Nando, who knows?
Hey,
so that would be a dream. Because Michael Carter is a good running back. This really surprised me. It made absolutely no sense. But Robert Saleh today, right before the show, said that he felt it was unfair to keep Michael Carter around and that he wants to see what Izzy Abanikanda can do. So he will be dressed. He will be I won't be shocked if he takes over for Dalvin Cook, and he's the second running back getting touches. So Izzy definitely is a add tonight. I wouldn't break the bank for him at all because Breece Hall is going to be the lead back and will continue to get the majority of touches. But Izzy Abanikanda could be the RB2 on this team going forward, and as we've seen across the NFL landscape, might be one hit away or Breece Hall hamstring injury away from Izzy being the lead back down the stretch for the Jets. You've seen it. You've seen crazier things happen. It happens all the time. And he's one of those guys to stash. And if you had Michael Carter last week as a $1 stash, you're not dropping him tonight. It was good news that he got released, not bad news.
You are such a Jets fanboy that you're so blinded by Michael Carter. Well, you know what? I can't say that because Michael Carter to me is like before Breece Hall, everyone's like, "Oh, Michael Carter's amazing! What he's the best!" And then like Breece Hall shows up and he's like, "He sucks."
Yeah,
so, I've defended him a lot, just like by the virtue of fantasy players having short memories, and just like liking the new fresh thing. Okay, here's the question from my coworker. If you're ready,
okay,
he's got to drop one of these running backs. Well, he doesn't have to. He's got to bench one of these 4 running backs. It's a standard league, so I know that you just pooped your pants. Yeah, ETN, Rachaad White, Ty Chandler, and Jaylen Warren. Who do you bench in that group? Do you bench Rachaad White?
Actually, timeout. In a standard league, you bench Rachaad White. Yes. Rachaad White still doesn't get it down on the but he's getting it done receiving wise. But who the hell plays standard anymore?
I don't know, man. Like, so why do you mock people who don't play high stakes?
Standard. What does high stakes have to do with standard?
Because it's PPR.
Standard is like
such a PPR brain.
Because it's like playing. At least tell me it's a half-point PPR league. At least half point. I don't make fun of anybody. But standard, it's so boring. It's so like 1992 fantasy football. But
I feel like Rachaad White standard.
Rachaad White's coming on, and he's getting it done receiving wise. I think he had like 20 carries for 51 yards rushing. So the yards isn't going to be there, but he's getting in the end zone. So I can't say to sit him. So I'm still going to say Ty Chandler out of those guys. That Pittsburgh backfield is another 50-50 split. They're both playable, though. They're both playable. But let's touch on that Steelers offense for a minute, Nando, because it's a disgrace. Kenny Pickett's not an NFL starting quarterback. He needs to sit. He completely I don't know what they're doing in Pittsburgh here, but Deontay Johnson got 4 targets this past week, 1 catch. That was one of the biggest surprises. But I think we're in for it going forward. I think we're in trouble here as owners of George Pickens or Kenny Pickett because the Steelers know, listen, we got to hide this quarterback. Okay, he threw for 126 yards versus a Packers defense that was missing Jair Alexander and is bad. Okay, and that's pathetic. So Deontay Johnson and George Pickens owners got to be shaking in their boots going forward. This is going to be a run-heavy team. Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris are going to continue to see probably 15 carries each, and they're both, high-end RB2s, in my opinion.
High-end RB2 puts them at like
top 8. I'd say top 18
through. Okay, all right,
top 18, like right in that range, 15 to 18.
Najee Harris been a bit of a disappointment, right?
Najee Harris, not lately. No. Najee Harris. Everybody wanted to write him off. For September and most of October, and these last 2 or 3 weeks, Najee Harris has looked a lot better, and he's gotten back into people's starting lineups as an RB2. So
here we got this question's showing up in light blue.
Yes,
so and there's a star on it.
Yeah.
Say word $2. Would you start Chandler over Pollard this week?
Say word. I don't have the what to start Ty Chandler over Tony Pollard. Sorry.
This is the second time you haven't said balls, but you've sworn several
times.
Well,
we might have kids listening. We're a family friendly show. But say word. I don't have the balls to start Tony Pollard over Chandler this week. No.
Man, so you've hated Chandler all show. and now all of a sudden,
listen, that Denver defense is playing a lot better, and it's funny because I've been looking at the schedule for a couple weeks and going, when are they going to flex this Vikings Broncos Sunday night game out? Because it was looking like a disaster from a couple weeks ago, and now Minnesota and Denver are like two of the hottest teams, and the game stood up, and it's not a bad Sunday night game for our national audience. So it's still Tony Pollard over Ty Chandler for me. Sorry.
That 12 o'clock meeting that I got pulled into got canceled. So we can start the show at 11:30 now if you'd like. Come on, man. You can't cancel this stuff 17 minutes.
We do things to accommodate. We do things to accommodate you every week, Nando. So I mean, why stop?
Well, we do a lot to accommodate you too.
Nah, I don't know about that. Every week, can we move the show? Can we do it Tuesday? Can we switch the day? Can we switch the app? You're a drama queen. You're high maintenance, and I adjust because I'm the working man's man.
I am, and thank you. I think everyone. We got a lot of comments in here that are also blue, saying thank you for wearing a shirt that covers up your V-neck today. Which I guess I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. Hey, can we talk about this defense thing? I know you don't want to talk about it. I just want to
go ahead real quick. What do you want to talk about?
So the second most added element in CBS leagues was the Commanders DST. And you know me, I watched the All 22 and I was sending you pictures from it, and you were knocking me for it. But seriously though, I wanted to see, like, I don't know why I'm obsessed with this now. Because every smug person in my league picked up it's not just like the good players casually picked up the Commanders. It's the It's like the.
Why is this hard for you? Why is this a difficult thing for you to understand? Because
the Commanders' defense.
Defense,
it's not.
You're
good.
right. You're right. The Washington defense sucks. Okay?
They have scored the fewest points in the last 3 weeks since the trade deadline. The fewest fantasy points scored.
Yeah. Okay. But everyone's going to pick up Washington's D and stream them this week because you know what?
I don't think Tommy DeVito's the guy you want to stream against.
Okay, that's your first one. That's your first one. I think you said one stupid thing earlier, so that's your second one.
I'm telling you, man.
You don't want to stream against Tommy DeVito. Oh my God.
I don't think it's a slam dunk that you think. If you had a middle of the road defense, fine, right? But the Commanders traded away their two best.
That wasn't the point.
Players.
What you just said is I don't think Tommy DeVito's who you want to stream against. No, Nando, that's exactly why Washington's the second biggest picked up defense added player this week is because people don't care about how bad the Washington defense actually is, which they are. They just care about picking on Tommy DeVito and knowing that they're going to get 5 or 6 sacks.
I don't think
Tommy DeVito's probably going to throw an interception or two. So and the game is on the road. So that's it, Nando. There's nothing else to look into. Don't go galaxy braining this. It's as simple as that. It's a bad defense.
I'm not galaxy braining.
You are. It's every defense that plays against the Giants going forward is going to be the defense of the week. You're going to see to start pretty much. So
I don't know, man. They're not touching Matt Barkley, right? I don't think if you're Brian Daboll, I'm cool with tanking. Like people just want to take my job away, right? Like no big deal.
Oh, I love it. My Giants are now second, drafting second overall right now. And they will be first overall by the time the season ends, I believe. So I'm excited for it. Bring on Drake May or Caleb Williams. Love it.
The Giants are +9 right now.
Oh, you should. I'm
going to tease the lineup. Yeah, you ready for this?
Or whatever you do.
Alternate spread. Yeah. Giants. Let's do Giants -2. See what that gets you +370. So what's the point? Like, what's +374 is pointless.
I mean, you just want like $1 million for taking an underdog. But listen,
I'm telling you, man,
this week is 3-game teaser heaven. Let me teach you a little bit about gambling.
I know what a teaser. Is. Thank you.
This week is 3-team teaser heaven. Okay. You're getting 10 points on your 3-game teaser. Take the Lions, the 49ers, the Dolphins, all down to under 3 points, and enjoy your Sunday. Okay. And what's funny about that is, I'm sorry, throwing Dallas instead of Miami. That's my favorite 3 teams. Lions, Dallas, and San Fran. Okay. So you're taking the Lions down to a pick'em. You're taking the Niners down to 1, and you're taking Dallas down to 1. The Lions, Cowboys, and Niners, 3 of the best teams in the NFL, okay, versus 3 of the worst teams, and it's a 3-game teaser. And the crazy thing about this week is you also have Washington, and you have Miami. Also, that's Washington's a 10-point favorite. Miami is a 12-point favorite. So you could take any of those 5 teams, whoever you love the best out of those 3, 3 out of those 5, and 3-game tease them down. So, I don't like to do teasers. They're sucker bets, but every now and then we get a week like this where the spreads are huge. Okay. And
Senior football's got a point.
Senior, all favorite teams. Yeah.
Bets. I mean, come on. Why don't you give us something hard, man? Like Giants money line.
Listen, nothing's easy in gambling, but sometimes you want to, sometimes you want a nice bet. So
I think people are paying us $2.
Yeah. Yeah. Answer the question. What's the question?
I don't think it's a question. I think you just gave us $2.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, let me see. Let me see if you did it. You don't have to do. Please don't feel like you have to give us money. Like Chris owns a bar. He's good.
Nando's totally going to take the money himself.
He charges $12. You know what you should do? We should. Why don't we give this money that we make here to like Fantasy Cares? Me and you will go on the shopping spree for Scott Fish.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Anybody that contributes or donates money, that we'll put it off to the side and we'll buy something. Sounds good. Great idea.
Max. Yeah, and we'll match it.
Yeah, there he is. Yes, he had a question. Justin Herbert is a sell high.
Theo will match it personally.
Justin Herbert's a sell high if you have a second quarterback with the schedule getting tougher again. Let's talk about this Chargers offense. Top 10. Yeah. So let's talk about this Chargers offense. Right now probably is the time to sell Justin Herbert.
For CJ Stroud?
I don't know if anybody will do that, but that's definitely in consideration. I would probably take CJ Stroud. I'll tell you why. Justin Herbert, he's just, he's got Keenan Allen. Let me tell you this. If Keenan Allen's shoulder injury was something worse, when he left and went to the locker room, all Justin Herbert owners took a collective sigh of, collective breath and were like, okay, my season's over. Because without Keenan Allen in that offense, Justin Herbert's not a top 12 quarterback fantasy-wise, week in and week out. Okay? And right now, there's going to be – I know last week we talked about Gerald Everett and how I love Gerald Everett for this offense. And he got hurt in this game, and I don't know, what his status is going to be this week and going forward. It's just always something with Gerald Everett. But we talk about people to pick up on the waiver wire tonight. Jalen Guyton is somebody to keep your eye on. Okay, he caught 4 balls for 41 yards and a touchdown. He could wind up establishing himself as the wide receiver 2 in this offense until Josh Palmer comes back. And he got 6 targets, and he made the most of it. He's been on IR pretty much all season long and just came off of it last week. So Jalen Guyton is a sneaky ad for all of our listeners here. Herbert needs some help in this offense. It just can't all be Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler out of the backfield. He's going to need somebody to step up here. So look for Jalen Guyton. If he does it again this week, he could see himself in flex position going forward.
Just got a note in Slack.
Yeah.
About DTR going in for the Browns. About his best connection.
Okay. What is that?
I don't know if I'm actually allowed to say this because, I think it is. Cedric Tillman.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's Cedric Tillman's found himself now in the wide receiver 3 role there. But if you want to trust Cedric Tillman going forward, and he's probably the fourth option after Njoku, Cedric Tillman's going to be that type of wide receiver, Nando, that is just like a one catch for 50, like a Jalen Hyatt on the Giants. He's not going to get heavily targeted. It's just going to be boom or bust. You got to hope. So, he's a best ball dream. So there you go.
Answer Max again. He paid $2 for charity.
Purdy's my other quarterback that is a safer. Yeah, I like Purdy going forward, man, especially this week at home versus Tampa. Listen, Purdy came back, and while we're on the topic, Nando, I put in a bet after Sunday to Niners to win the Super Bowl. To me, Niners are the best team in football. They're going to win the Super Bowl this year. Everybody's been a little cautious because of Purdy, but this Niners defense is the best defense in football now that they got these acquisitions and all their weapons are healthy. It's just Brock Purdy is going to take them as far as he can. And I think Purdy showed on the road, dropping 295, 3 touchdowns, look good. They have McCaffrey in the backfield to rely on. But Purdy's a reliable drive-the-bus type of fantasy quarterback. Each week, he'll be 250-2. He won't burn you. And he'll have those weeks where, like last week, he drops 30 fantasy points. So, yeah, Purdy's definitely another option. We're getting some good fantasy quarterbacks back with Purdy playing better now and Justin Fields getting healthy and coming back. Kyler Murray back in the mix. We're getting we're getting a nice little shot of adrenaline into our quarterback position.
Yeah, there's another $5 from Max. I'm glad we're donating.
Yeah, thanks everybody contributing.
Thanks, Max.
Nice. Thank you, Max.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll all go to buying kids, a gift for the holidays.
Joanne wants to go bars and
or we can, or Nando probably will take all this money and put it towards his pie. His pie.
No, today was the deadline to order pies. So
today was the deadline.
Record-setting pie sale, my friend.
Yeah, you would have to show me numbers.
Okay, I could.
Numbers.
I would love to actually. Yeah.
Joanna, no, the bar is in Tribeca. Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah,
it's a good bar.
How great was that Lions Charge? Speaking of the Chargers, how great was that Lions Chargers game?
Well,
and let's talk. Last week
you talk about all this stuff in the
Lions
past that helps nobody.
Okay, what do you want to talk about? You're just sitting there not talking about anything. Bring up where's your topics, Nando?
You know what's gonna happen?
Bring them up.
You're gonna do that thing in a couple days.
You had 3 topics. That's
where you're like, I listened back to the show and I talked a lot. I'm sorry about that. I really hogged the show.
I'm just gonna say, Nando, you weren't bringing up topics and players. Let's go.
I can't if you don't take a breath.
Dying.
I can't. I'm trying to throw some things up on the board, some questions. I'm letting you plug your bar. And you see that as an opportunity to jump into a game from 2 weeks ago that nobody cares about, that has no relevance in week 11. Let's talk about the Chargers again. Imagine if Jahmyr Chase got traded to the Chargers. Your head would explode every week. This would be a 4-hour show. Just about every single. Remember that play Jahmyr Chase made in the third quarter for the Chargers? That was
genius. I was talking about the Lions. I was talking about the Lions, not the Chargers just now. And the backfield split between Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery.
I think we should talk about
that. Isn't that useful?
Gibbs. I just want to put a bow on this Washington DST real quick, and I'll leave this up from Tyler so we remember to talk about this.
Oh my God!
11 points. Let's put the line at 11 points for the DST. I'll say under. I'll tease it down to 8. What would you like to?
I'll tease the defense points down.
What would you like to? I'd do a friendly wager with you.
Yeah. What do you? You say under 8 fantasy points. I'll say.
No, I'd say 11. I think 11 is the. I think 11 is
lunch. Lunch on the person who loses. Okay.
We'll go back to the Adams tab.
Tyler, you actually want to talk about fantasy, huh? And the Gibbs Montgomery useful backfield split. Yeah, let's do that instead of the Washington defense for 18 minutes. Okay.
You can pretend that you're looking for.
Thanks, Tyler. Sounds good.
Oh, here, Tyler's got my back though. Under 11.
I was surprised that Montgomery. Maybe I'm not going to read too much into this because I was surprised. That Montgomery played got less than 40% of the snaps. Gibbs played a lot more than I thought, but he deservedly should have. Gibbs earned that right. I just thought it would be the other way around. I thought it would be a 60-40 split Montgomery-wise. This is one of those rare backfields, just like the Steelers, Nando, where both running backs are plug-and-play guys, okay? And Gibbs just might be a top 12 RB1 every week going forward. But I don't think Montgomery can be looked at as less than that. The Lions schedule these next 2 weeks is a dream. At home versus the Bears, and then on Thanksgiving at home versus the Packers. So 2 games where you could comfortably start Gibbs and Montgomery as top 12 fantasy running backs. I just want to give it another week here and see if Gibbs is gets more of the piece of the pie over Montgomery. I still think that maybe they were trying to ease Montgomery back in after the time off. And I think we'll slowly start to see Montgomery get more touches, especially in the red zone. That was what I was the most surprised at, was that in the red zone, when they got inside the 5, Gibbs wasn't coming out for Montgomery. Gibbs got goal line, and that's a shock to me. So, better days ahead. I will say this, though. After Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta in this offense, you could comfortably drop Josh Reynolds and Jameson Williams now. There's not enough to go around here.
Jameson Williams and Calvin Ridley. Those two are sticking in my mind as like these, on what part of the multiverse are these guys having great seasons? We're just on that weird one, I think.
Nobody's saying two guys that are having terrible seasons, but Jameson Williams isn't like somebody that anybody rely on. Everybody stashed and kept Jameson Williams thinking that he was going to be the clear second option in the passing game for the Lions when, we were drafting him in September. And once he got off of suspension, and he never did. And it doesn't look like he ever will, especially that they brought in Donovan Peoples-Jones, who was inactive last week. But listen, the amount of touches that Montgomery and Gibbs, deserves and demand, there's not enough for a third option in this pass game. And we even saw Sam Laporta take a little bit of a step back this past week. But after those four guys in this offense, you can't play any Detroit Lions. So, that's I have a lot of Reynolds and Jameson Williams on my benches, but I might be cutting them loose tonight because they're just two guys that are going to get a couple targets every week, just be out there, probably play about 50% of the snaps or less, rotate and cut up whatever leftovers those four main Lions let up. But Jared Goff, Nando, I love
Packers
Jared
and Lions.
Goff going
That's your Thanksgiving game, by the way.
Packers, Lions. That's what I just said. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, Commanders, Cowboys, 49ers, Seahawks.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad of a lineup there. It's going to be fun and a nice change to finally see the Lions have a really good team and produce on, and be a favorite and a heavy favorite on Thanksgiving. I don't know if since I was
like
a kid,
the Barry Sanders games, they were
since we were kids, Nando.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Lions have been this good on a Thanksgiving.
Commanders and Cowboys. I mean, that could be like the coming out party for Sam.
Well, why don't we talk about?
Stage.
Hey, Nando, why don't we talk about Thanksgiving games on next Wednesday's show, the day before Thanksgiving?
It's a good idea.
Great idea. Okay, how about we talk about this week's games instead?
We have about a minute left. We can go a little longer if people want.
Yeah. Well, your meeting got canceled, so
well, I shouldn't have said anything, right? All right.
I think the Jets going into Buffalo at the right time. This Buffalo team, by the way, I'll forever hate the Buffalo Bills. I'm in a big Survivor League, and I had to take the Bills this past week, and I got eliminated on that absolute crime of a century ending. This Bills team sucks, and I've been saying it for weeks. I just tried to use them and get them out of the way. This last week, I thought at home versus Denver, their season was on the line, and that they can actually get the win, and then I don't have to worry about using them again. They buried me. I'll forever hate the Buffalo Bills going forward.
Oh, come on.
But yeah, I will.
They got a new OC. Did you know Joe Brady was on the Bills staff?
Yeah, that's
I didn't
crazy.
know that.
Yeah, so
That's
he takes
exciting.
over as offensive coordinator. I don't know what he's going to change other than the rumors are that, not rumors, but you have to believe that Stephon Diggs is going to be targeted like absolute craziness. I don't know if this is the week though, because Sauce Gardner most likely will be follow on him. But going forward, Diggs, you could look for him as like a 12 to 15 target every week type of wide receiver. Diggs has been a little disappointing, this last month, whereas the first 2 months every week he was a top 3 wide receiver. So this past
Brady
week,
got a raw deal. I think in Carolina. I mean, like it was like Matt Rule might have been the offensive coordinator, really, and like Brady, how much did he actually do? And then they fired him, and then Rule was gone a little bit later. Like, imagine if that was Steve Wilkes with Brady as his offensive coordinator. That might have been They might have been like 8-4 instead of 6-6, right?
I'm shocked that the Jets are 7-point underdogs in this game. I don't care how bad
that's weird, right?
Is I don't care how bad their offense is. Defensively, they could go in, and this Buffalo offense is a disaster right now. Benching James Cook early in that game was a joke. You saw when he came back in, even though he almost, we might never have seen James Cook again with that long run when he dropped the ball, when he dropped it and popped right back up into his arms and he took off. If he would have fumbled that away, I don't think we would have saw James Cook for weeks. But you know,
I'm over this fumble punishment. This is what happens if you punish a guy for fumbling and then you lose the game at the end because of that.
I can understand if the kid is a fumbler.
That's not Ken Dorsey's
every week he fumbles, but he doesn't. You know, it was stupid because, you know, he was so explosive when he got back in the game and running wise. They could have relied on him for 3 quarters there and probably won the game if they didn't do that stupid benching and given, you know, meaningless carries to Latavius Murray. So, you know, we'll see.
Can I ask you the 2 questions that I prepared?
If they're not stupid, sure.
No, they're definitely stupid. Would you rather spend the next week as Travis Kelce or Ryan Seacrest?
So, wow. This is what you think our fantasy audience want to hear.
I think they do, actually. Give us a thumbs up if you do, please. Or a thumbs down if you don't.
Please don't.
But I do think someone would like to know if Chris Vaccaro would rather be Travis Kelce or Ryan Seacrest for a week.
Why is Ryan Seacrest? I don't even understand that.
Because they're 2 different kinds of celebrity. I mean, it could be anybody. It could be The Weeknd. I don't know. Like, just pick a celebrity.
Not Travis Kelce, because I'm not a Taylor Swift, you know.
I knew it.
I'm not infatuated with her like most people are. So
yeah. All right. How about the other one?
Eagles versus Chiefs on a Monday night. How
there you
crazy
go. See, I gave you a segue. You're welcome.
There you go. Eagles Chiefs game of the year Monday night. Hopefully, it lives up to the billing.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't seen the Eagles, I feel like, in forever. 2 teams coming off their bye. They get an extra day of rest. That's pretty crazy. And hopefully this game, I was surprised to see the total only 45.
I accidentally banned It's Chuka Baby. How do I undo that?
It was banned. Oh, wow.
Oh, man. I was trying to put his comment up and it got.
Oh, my God. You banned someone. Oh, my God. Nando.
It's Chuka Baby. I'm sorry.
What a dick move. What a dick move. Unbelievable. That's really messed up.
Yeah. It's Chuka Baby. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. What happens with this Bears backfield now that looks like Khalil Herbert is going to finally be back? Another backfield that's all, you know, another 50-50 split. What happens with that, Nando? While you don't pay attention.
How do I undo an accidental ban?
Yeah, do that now. That's good. That's good. Do that now. That's fun. Nando, does your guy Deontay Foreman?
Yeah,
all right.
I think he's earned it, right? I mean, hasn't he? I guess it's kind of like is Eberflus old school, or is he? He's like he earned the right to keep that job, or is he like Rashawn Johnson had that job before, so he's our guy?
He definitely did. I mean, he's looked really good, and he looked good running again last Thursday night. You know, 21 carries. I just can't, you know, a friend asked me this the other day. I just can't see, you know, him playing as good as he has this past month and going from 21 carries to then now playing a backup role, you know, to Khalil Herbert now that he's healthy. I think the odd man out is Rashawn Johnson. I think Rashawn Johnson is Justice Hill pretty much. I think he's the third back, you know, in this backfield, and maybe Deontay Foreman plays the Gus Edwards role, and Justice and Keaton Mitchell is the Khalil Herbert role. I think they're very similar backfields going forward, but I'd be surprised if Deontay Foreman isn't a 50+% snap week in and week out still.
Khalil Herbert to me would be like the Michael Carter, and it would be Rashawn Johnson, who's the new guy you brought in, who's fresh and exciting, and Deontay Foreman.
I just don't see teams that just because the starting running back got hurt comes back and is the third string, like they just, you know, relegate him. I don't think coaches lose locker rooms like that, you know, like, oh, this was our starter, and just because a couple of other guys outplay him, you forgot all about him. And, you know, most head coaches, like we've talked about, don't let players lose their role on the team because of injury, you know? Now,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So
I feel terrible. It's Chuka Baby. I'm sorry, man. There's no way to reverse it according to Reddit.
Oh, look them up on Twitter and send them a note. How about that?
I guess I could just write it's chukababy@gmail.com, right?
Yeah, sure.
If there's anything we could do, maybe we should just give him the $9. I feel terrible.
Okay. No.
It's really your fault if you would just let me put these things up like a normal person instead of telling me not
all right,
to
we're losing your focus, so let's wrap up the show.
Chris sent me a text. If everybody wants to know, is that don't put any more up from this person.
Yeah, okay. Anyway,
I'll hold it up to the screen again. If you
Nando. End the show, dude.
Why? You wanted to go long. We got time now. Maybe. Where can I find a notary in Westfield, New Jersey?
It's unbelievable.
I'm going to Google that too. Bring us out.
All right, folks. Have a great week 11. We'll be back maybe next week. Who knows? But for our
totally gonna be
Thanksgiving show. For our Thanksgiving show. And
Chris is wearing he's going to be dressed as a pilgrim, I think. You promised.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
If
you'll be dressed as a turkey.
If the Commanders score less than 11 fantasy points, and I'll even do NFFC scoring, you have to dress up as a pilgrim for the next show.
You said 8, just so you know. Don't.
Yeah, well, I said I would go on
11. Don't be trying. The bet was 8, just so you know.
No, the bet was 11, actually. Rewind it.
The bet was 8.
Rewind it. The bet was 11.
We will. You said 8.
I offered 8 as what I think would happen. Like if I was going to bring the 11 line down. It was a joke. It was a tease joke.
Nah. You don't even know what a tease is.
I do.
Anyway, Nando, love all our listeners. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for listening on Spotify and Apple. And we'll see you for Thanksgiving preview next Wednesday. Good luck in week 11.
It's Chuka, baby. I'm sorry. We love you so much. It's not even funny. I don't know what's going on with this music either. Okay, bye, everybody.